I know. There's always going to like people getting on as well.
Oh, it's nice and warm here, you got on pause.
Wide shots. There's the St John's Beacon over there. Also known as the Radio City Tower. It's got a view from up there.
Oh, I'm glad you ladies enjoyed that. I've come up the stairs once to blank faces. You cannot get a tour back from that, ladies and gents. But, afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Explorer. We well? Yay! Ooh, very good, very good. So welcome there, guys. My name is Oliver. I'm your guide today. Downstairs is Scotty. He's on drive for the next 3 minutes, and then Wade's coming back for his lunch. Just so, for those who have just joined us, it's going to take us about an hour to do a full loop of the city today, starting and finishing at the Albert Dock, that collection of red brick buildings to your left-hand side. If you want to jump off at any of the other stops, ladies and gentlemen, the Cavern, the Cathedrals, Chinatown, that's fine. We'll drop you off there. And it looks like we're down to 2 buses now, folks, so it's every half an hour from the same stop, okay? Just so you know, the last bus of the day will start at the Albert Dock at 10 in the morning. Sorry, at 4 o'clock rather, the last one. And it'll take a final hour to go round, folks. So make sure you pick that up if you want to get back to the dock. And keep your tickets on you, ladies and gentlemen. They last 24 hours from when you bought them. It'll be back up to 4 first thing in the morning, 4 buses. Again, all the buses today, they have got live guides and live-ish drives. So yeah, if you enjoy any of our ramblings, there's a little basket on the way out next to all the drivers. That's there for any shrapnel, any tips you feel we're doing today. Me and Scotty, we're trying to open a sports bar. It's very little else. Anyway, with all that out of the way, to your right-hand side, we're just passing an orange and cream stripy looking building. Looks a bit like bacon. Well, I say it is lunchtime. But that building there, ladies and gentlemen, that was Albion House, the headquarters of the White Star Cruise Liner Company, those who famously financed the Titanic, of course. Now, the Titanic never actually came to Liverpool for obvious reasons, but it was a Liverpool registered vessel. All of its paperwork, its registration fees, etc. was done in that building behind us, Albion House. So bearing that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, next time that 90s Titanic film's on, you know, with little Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah? There's 2 things I want everyone on the bus to look out for if that film's on. 1, there is definitely enough room on that door for both of them at the end of that film. You know, when he's in the ice, it's got a full space next to it. It's selfish. The other thing is, on the back of the ship, in the film, that's precisely how it was in real life as well, ship says Titanic, and underneath it says Liverpool. And that's why, folks, because it was a Liverpool registered vessel. And speaking of Liverpool registered vessels, we're coming up to stop number 2 now, and this is for the Mersey Ferry Terminal. The ferry goes every hour on the hour, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, this is the hour bus, so we do miss it every time. But yeah, you can jump on other times. Weekdays they tend to be till 4 o'clock, but of course it is bank holiday, so they might be running till 6. There's one. And you can, it takes about an hour to go up and down the river. You can jump off on the other side as well. That strip of land on the other side of the Mersey, by the way, is known as the Wirral Peninsula. And the Wirral is Cheshire rather than Liverpool, ladies and gentlemen. Towns and villages mostly on that side. And if I'm 100% honest, folks, the Wirral exists to take photos of Liverpool. And I can say that, folks, because that's where I live. I've come to terms with it, ladies and gentlemen, and I get all the New Year's fireworks for free. So it doesn't bother me one minute. Just passing the Museum of Liverpool here, folks. Like the majority of the museums on this tour, this is free to go inside. This will tell you about the history of Liverpool from our time as a fishing village pre-1207 all the way to as we are now. For those of you who were with me on the earlier run, when I told you about the Lichfield design, the largest Catholic cathedral in the world, there is a scale model of that cathedral in the Museum of Liverpool. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll tell you later on, don't worry. And to your right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, you've got these three lovely buildings here. These are collectively known as the Three Graces. So the Port of Liverpool building with all the domes, then the Cunard building in the very centre, and finally the Royal Liver building. And I'll tell you about all of these in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, we are circling back up towards stop number 2. So does anyone want to jump off here, ladies and gentlemen? You getting off here then, Scotty? No worries. There you go. Right, cheers for your patience, guys. We'll drop you off here, okay? So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got about 12 seats up here, Scotty, and then 4 side, 2 seats inside. Okay, mate? There you go. Right. So where were we going to change? Let's have a look to your left-hand side there. You've got Boodles on the corner, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you who've done a photo on the Grand National may recognise this name. Boodles is a jeweller's shop, ladies and gents, and that's actually the oldest shop in the city of Liverpool. They've been operating on that corner since 1798. So over 200 years old at this point, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, to your right-hand side, we're going up towards the Hard Day's Night Hotel. This is our Beatles-themed hotel. Can you see him on the first floor, the fat floor? Always remind me of Merth, to be honest. Anyway, these 4 statues are collectively known as Together Again. And what the Beatles are wearing in the statues represents what they did after the band split. So John Lennon is on the corner of Matthew Street. John is dressed in his New York denims. Next to him, Paul McCartney, that's how he was when he played for the Wings. Towards the back of the bus, George Harrison, although he looks more like Billy Connolly to you. That's how he was for the concert for Bangladesh. And finally, bringing us neatly, ladies and gentlemen, to our next cathedral. Stop number 8 is for the Anglican Cathedral, which is the largest Anglican cathedral in Britain, the 6th largest now in the world, and it also has the largest organ in the country. Although it depends on Dickie Lewis, it is told on where he is. So there's a beach jumping up downstairs. Anyone upstairs jumping off for the Anglican Cathedral, ladies and gents? Anyone off here? No, we're all Catholic up here, wait. Sorry. Now, as I say, the Anglican was designed by a Catholic, a man called Giles Gilbert Scott. And Mr. Gilbert Scott, ladies and gentlemen, was 22 years old when he designed that cathedral. Not bad, I think. It was for a competition as well, ladies and gentlemen. And the plans they picked, the winning plans, there are a few up here, wait. Cheers, guys, see you later. See you in a minute. Thanks, guys, take care now. See you later. See you in a bit, Chief. So yeah, it was for a competition. He submitted the plans, and the plans they picked were the same ones that he had drawn the night before the deadline. Right? Look. In 1908. Mostly shipping companies inside that building with all the domes, and always has been, really. Lovely interior design though, a lot of green marble work and things like that. Then to your left hand side you've got the Cunard building, ladies and gentlemen. That's as in Cunard Cruise Liner Company, those who famously financed the Lusitania, of course. And you can also see some of their other famous vessels on these benches here to your left. Now originally the top few floors of the building were for the main administration offices for the club in the same way that Albion House was for White Star. And then the bottom floor was a waiting room for those going to the New World, America or Australia. These days the building is slightly different. Top few floors are now for Liverpool City Council, that's where they allegedly work. Look, government for you folks. Bottom floor though is the British music experience. Help yourselves inside there, ladies and gentlemen, learn about all the great bands that come from Britain. We've got the Rolling Stones, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Bowie, Queen, and of course Liverpool's most fantastic and most influential band, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. So it's all there, ladies and gentlemen, it's all worth checking out. And finally, of course, you've got the most iconic of the three graces, the Royal Liver Building, ladies and gentlemen. And when we go through these lights, we're going to turn to the left-hand side, and we're going to be able to show you this building in full. What I'll tell you for now, ladies and gentlemen, is the building is once again mostly offices inside. It's currently the headquarters of Everton Football Club. And you can do tours of the Liver Building as well if you want, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 70-minute tour. They tend to do it in small groups of about 15, 20 or so. So if you're interested, look ahead. But they do let you go to the top of the towers and you get a proper look around and tell you about the history of the building, clock faces, and of course the Liver Birds. So it is quite interesting. The Liver Birds, of course, themselves, folks, the symbol of the city of Liverpool. Yeah, they're a mythical creature, the Liver Birds, so you're not going to find any on the river looking for fish, I'm afraid. They are mostly an eagle by design, and that comes from the royal symbol of Bad King John, if you remember the villain from Robin Hood, yeah? Well, he wasn't all bad. He's also the man who chartered Liverpool in 12... See Matthew Street down there as well, can't you folks, to the right? It's more of an alleyway really than a street, and that's why the bus doesn't go down there. We have tried, ladies and gentlemen, pedestrians are not happy with us, so we skip it. But it is worth going down in your own time. The Cavern Club itself, the Beatles played there over 292 times.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Today the Cavern Club is about £5 to get in, ladies and gentlemen, but there's live music on in there all day, every day. And they're all up-and-coming bands as well, ladies and gentlemen, so the money you give them does support local artists. And you never know, someone you see there tonight, they may go on to be really famous. And then you get to tell all your mates, don't you, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, sure, that before they were famous. Oh, there's been that smug every now and then. I'm going to tell you about the two footballing-themed hotels in the city, ladies and gentlemen. Once we get through these lights, on the right-hand side we will pass the Shankly Hotel, named after Liverpool FC's second longest serving and most charismatic manager, Bill Shank. Very important character if you are a Liverpool supporter. When Shankly first turned up to LFC, it was 1959. The team were second division, mid-table, and their training regime was running up and down the car park before kick-off. I mean, even if you don't care about football, folks, you can see while they're in the second division. But Shankly comes to the team, he says, listen lads, you don't play on a car park, you play on a pitch covered in grass. Have you considered training on grass? In 1959, that was a revolutionary idea. The past is a different place, it really is. Either way, Shankly got him back into the top flight, and from there he set down the foundation for one of the most successful times in the club's history, particularly during the 60s, 70s and 80s. So the Shankly Hotel's on the right-hand side. Opposite Shankly is the Dixie Dean Hotel over here. William Dixie Dean was one of Everton's most famous players from back in the 1930s. Legend of the sport, to be fair, a very prolific goal scorer. Both of them are quite nice hotels, ladies and gentlemen, although I wouldn't recommend the bar of the Everton Hotel, because they haven't got any cups. And you can tell which side, my bread's been buttered, so there you go. To your left-hand side, folks, yeah, that's the traffic tunnel I was telling you about before. You drive underneath that, through that tunnel, folks, underneath the River Mersey, and pop out on the Wirral Peninsula. It takes you 5 minutes if traffic is on your side. This is the Queensway Tunnel, and it was opened by the King. Further up the road is the Kingsway Tunnel. That was opened by the Queen. Yeah, we do it backwards here for a laugh, folks. Keeps you on your toes, yeah. And we're now coming up towards stop number 4 now, ladies and gents. You're off here, I guys, yeah. We'll just make sure we come to a stop first, then we go from there. Stop number 4, ladies and gentlemen, is for the World Museum, the Walker Art Gallery, and the Public Library as well. So that's the World Museum to your left, 5 floors of aquariums, planetariums, ancient Egyptian mummies, and dinosaurs. Everyone loves the dinosaur, folks. The staircase was the original entrance, but we're sick of people doing that bit from the movie Rocky. So don't try those doors, they're locked, folks. This is the public library now, ladies and gentlemen, and a bit further up the road is the Walker Art Gallery, for those of you who have to go downstairs. Okay, right, thank you very much, guys. Let's get out of here. It really lasts into the 1990s, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who remember Boys from the Black Stuff, young Bernard Hill, that's exactly what it used to be like, ladies and gentlemen. If you've not seen it, well, no one had any money, folks. Many people fled Liverpool in search of work. Those that were forced to remain were major victims of austerity. Not even the city council had enough money to knock down the abandoned warehouses. They just had to leave those buildings up to moulder, folks. And all of that was looked upon by the governments at the time, the Thatcher government, as a managed decline. The city was basically left to die by the Thatcher government, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we don't get on with Maggie. That and the milk, obviously. But we are a stubborn lot, the Scouts. And over the past 30 years or so, the economy has changed. More importantly, it has diversified as well. So we make a lot of money from things like student accommodation, 60,000 students in Liverpool, remember? Nightlife is important to Liverpool, particularly on the weekends when the stag and the hen do's turn up, although obviously we've got 4 bank holidays, folks, so it's going to be quite busy. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, there's all of Liverpool's tourism. So yeah, cheers guys, nice keeping us all up there. Thanks for that, folks. And these days, the warehouses we couldn't afford to knock down, we try to preserve and reuse as many of those buildings as we can. The best example of that is the Albert Dock directly ahead of us, and this is stop number 1 on your maps. The Albert Dock, folks, was opened back in 1846 by Prince Albert, husband of Queen Victoria, of course. And these are actually the world's first completely fireproof structures. No wood in their design, ladies and gentlemen, it is just metal and stonework. Pretty standard these days, but back then that was very rare. Designed by a man called Jesse Hartley, who also built Liverpool's first ever dock, which is currently underneath John Lewis behind you. During the Second World War, the Albert Dock was used as a military dockland area, again those ships gathering for the Battle of the Atlantic I mentioned. And then after the war, the buildings were completely abandoned, and they weren't used again until the 1990s. This is where GMTV showed up and started filming things, ladies and gentlemen, such as This Morning with Richard and Judy, and the Weatherman, we don't talk about it anymore.
The Weatherman, what was his name?
That was Fred the Weatherman.
Oh, that's it.
Again, we don't talk about it anymore. We don't know what happened to the island, by the way.
Fred.
Anyway, these days, folks, this is filled with hotels, restaurants, bars and shops, and it's a major tourist attraction here in Liverpool. We're turning to the left of the merry-go-round. If we carry on straight down past the Pump House, you would pass the Maritime Museum, 3 floors of Liverpool's nautical histories and traditions, folks. This also includes the International Slavery Museum, which talks about the Atlantic Triangle and Liverpool's not too small influences on the slave trade. So both of them are down there, and they are free to go inside, folks. We're going to. There's also Take Liverpool, the Modern Art Gallery. That is mostly free, barring any special exhibitions going on. And finally, the Beatles story. Our Beatles Museum, folks, you do have to pay in for, but it is comprehensive, so it's worth checking out. So what's going to happen here, ladies and gents, is we're going to stop here for, well, basically, as long as it takes to load and unload, and then we're going to start again, 3 o'clock tour, ladies and gentlemen. You are more than welcome to stay on if you want to jump off at the Cavern, the Cathedrals, Chinatown, or any of the other stops. If you are going off at the Albert Dock, though, ladies and gentlemen, just to say thank you very much for taking the Liverpool Explorer. I hope you've enjoyed your time on the bus, ladies and gents. If you have enjoyed it, my name is Oliver, and downstairs is Wayne. Just give us a moment, guys. If you've hated it, folks, it's Paul and Barry, okay? We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on TripAdvisor as well. And there's a little basket on the way out next to Wayne, the bus driver, folks. That's there for any shrapnel or any tips you feel we have earned today, ladies and gentlemen. Any tips, folks, will be greatly appreciated. Wayne personally recommends £1 for every star you thought this tour was worth, ladies and gentlemen. So do fold your money on the way out. Worth a go, isn't it? Seriously, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your time in the city. We'll see you next time. Any questions? I'm downstairs. Gentlemen, he's one of our more powerful drivers. He actually uses this for rallying on weekends, ladies and gentlemen, so he knows how to roll this, don't you worry. Yeah. To your left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, this is St John's Memorial Gardens. There are memorial trees to the left, folks, for John Lennon and for George Harrison. The Central Memorial is for Liverpool soldiers who fought during the Victorian era, so things like the Second Boer War and various conflicts in Afghanistan. And then finally, when we get to the front of the gardens, to your left-hand side is a black copper cylinder. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the City's Memorial for the now 97 Liverpool Football Club supporters who lost their lives as a consequence of the Hillsborough Stadium disaster of 1989. So the City Mourn's been there to your left, folks.
It says 96 on the back that every single Liverpool thing, so that's how many people from Liverpool died in the
Say that in sense, this is the City's Memorial, the more famous Eternal Flame as a battlefield itself. Coming up on your right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good pub. Coming up here on the right, Dr. Duncan's, very traditional British style pub. We're talking wing-back chairs, fireplace your dog can sleep in front of. Right? Now, the man himself, Dr. Duncan, he was a very important character when it came to things like sanitation in surgeries. Okay? He was Britain's first Surgeon Master General, and basically he is the man who worked out that we should wash surgical tools in between patients. Somebody had to work that out, ladies and gentlemen. It's scarier the longer you think about it as well, really. Yeah, well, you know what, there we nicked all the credit back then, didn't we? That's how it works. Now, the man himself, Dr. Duncan, he was a very important character. Yeah, that was it. During his era, Liverpool, London, Edinburgh, these were some of the earliest examples of proper urbanised city living. And there were a lot of problems with cholera outbreaks, tainted water supplies, typhoid, all that sort of stuff. During one of the major cholera outbreaks in the city of Liverpool, Dr. Duncan was one of the many medical professionals to recommend at the time that we should all drink the beer instead of drinking the water. This, ladies and gentlemen, is advice I have followed all my life. I have never caught cholera, folks, so it's got to be something in it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what's in the bottle. Anyway, there's Lime Street train station directly ahead of us, folks. That's the station that connects us to the rest of the country. Some of you may have already seen this, of course. And then to your left-hand side, that is St. George's Hall. St. George's Hall is one of the first neo-classical buildings in Europe. Very ancient Greek on the outside, as you can see. Queen Victoria said it wouldn't look out of place in ancient Athens. Quite a nice compliment. Inside, though, it does get a bit more Roman, mosaics, white statues, etc. Been used for quite a bit of filming over the years, this as well. Anyone seen that new Batman film yet with Robert Pattinson? Yeah, well, St. George's Hall is quite prominent in the funeral scene. And he jumps off the Royal Albert building as well. I'll tell you about the concert hall to your left in a moment, but I do quickly want to tell you about the Empire Theatre, ladies and gentlemen. This is where all the big bands used to play in Liverpool. These days they play at the M&S Bank Arena on the river. That's the last place the Beatles played in this city. That was back in 1965. 2 years later, Jimi Hendrix played there with Pink Floyd and the Nice supporting. It's a good lineup for you.
Yeah.
And again, if you look behind you, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the concert hall on the corner of St. George's Hall. It's that round part of the building with the pillars sticking out. The interior design's even nicer. There's quite a lot of white statues with a gold leaf. But the reason why I talk about the concert hall area is because that is where Charles Dickens read out A Christmas Carol to the public for the very first time. So yeah, it was the people of Liverpool who were the first to hear Ebenezer Scrooge's story in full. And at the end of the tale they said, "That's great, Charlie, but you know what it really needs? The Muppets." Because Muppet Christmas Carol, ladies and gents, it's the best one. So when we get through these lights, folks, we're turning to the right-hand side. If we went to the left, though, that takes us up into North Liverpool, ladies and gentlemen. The bombed out church, folks. Anyone at number 9? No, it doesn't look like it, Wayne. Right. So yeah, what was I saying? So the plans they picked, the winning plans for the Anglican, the same plans he'd drawn the night before the deadline. Halfway through the evening, he realised he wouldn't have the time to do anything else with the outlines of the cathedrals. What ended up happening was, he was sketching the outlines, and then he would pass that bit of paper down the table to his mum. And his mum was finishing the pictures off for him. Yeah, always reminds me of when my mum hung out with our homework. I hope his is better than mine. That's all I have to say on that one. Anyway, we are on the edges of Liverpool's Chinatown now, ladies and gentlemen. This is stop number 10, by the way, if anyone's interested. This is actually the oldest Chinese community in Europe we are passing through, folks. Quite a lot of Chinese sailors used to work the Blue Funnel Line that went between Liverpool, Shanghai and Hong Kong, and a lot of the Chinese sailors ended up settling in Liverpool, folks. So that was towards the docks, but during the Second World War the Chinese community was moved up to this area, and this is where we've been ever since. These days, ladies and gentlemen, Liverpool and Shanghai are actually twin cities, and in the year 2000 that was represented with a little bit of an exchange of gifts, ladies and gentlemen. If you've ever been to Shanghai, a lot of their water pump is apparently based off ours, the Three Graces, the Liver building and all that sort of stuff. What they gave us, ladies and gentlemen, is the largest Chinese archway in Europe. You may be able to see it just between those trees, folks, but we are seeing it properly anyway. Definitely the largest in Europe, anyway. Might be the largest outside of mainland China. It's between us and the one in San Francisco. Either way, ours is better, because this was free. Gotta love a gift, haven't you? Yeah, as I say, gifted to Shanghai in the year 2000, and because that was the millennium, the Chinese year of the dragon, can you see how the golden dragons are drawn in the archway? 200 golden dragons in total, ladies and gentlemen, some of which are pregnant. Because apparently a pregnant dragon is a good luck symbol in Chinese culture. Yeah, maybe not for the lady dragon, that's what I've always thought. So yeah, obviously we've got a big Chinese community, but you know, Liverpool's a cultural melting pot. We've got influences from as far away as China and the West Indies, a lot of Welsh and Irish influences in Liverpool, and also quite a lot of Norwegian, Scandi and Swedish sailors. They were working here, and you know, some of them married the local girls, lived Liverpool lives, and brought with them a stew by the name of lobscouse. Or for short, ladies and gents, scouse. It's been a bit late though, Ah, of course, yeah. So yeah, if you've ever wondered where the Liverpudlian nickname of Scousers comes from, ladies and gentlemen, we're named after a stew. All things, all things. Quite a nice stew though, to be fair, ladies and gents, more for the winter months really. Really easy to make as well. We say all you need to make a proper, authentic Liverpudlian scouse is everything that was left over from last night's scouse, plus an extra potato. Yeah, it's one of those kind of stews.
Where we come from.
I see we've all noticed our lovely liver bird over here to the right. Painted by a local artist called John Coleshaw. Nice summery colours though. Now he painted that on the side of this building here. This is the wedding house, ladies and gentlemen. It is the one-stop shop for all your wedding needs, including your dress, your veil, your flowers. And they used to advertise groom hire there as well. Yeah, I'm not joking. When I started working here, they had banners instead of the liver bird, and one of those banners said groom hire. Underneath was a mobile phone number, and that was it. So no further details, I'm afraid, folks. Was he by the hour? Can you bring the older ones in for part exchange, ladies? We don't really know. It's always worth a crack, isn't it? I'll be honest, that is the main reason I talk about the wedding house. But since with these lights, it is quite a nice building, with the kind of Gothic styles and the archways behind it. The wedding house is actually what remains of all the rich merchant homes which used to be on that street we've come down from. This was during the height of the British Empire. The richest of the rich merchants built their homes so they had a good view over the River Mersey and out to the Irish Sea. They would be the first people to see their ships come in, that was the plan. Sadly, as you can tell, none of those fancy merchant homes are there anymore. They were redecorated by the Luftwaffe during the war. So, yeah, they're all gone. We were a major target of the Luftwaffe's bombing runs, folks. It was because of the Dockland areas, as you can imagine. You had Camel Herds on the other side of the Mersey building military vessels. The Battle of the Atlantic was planned and orchestrated from Liverpool, so a lot of military vessels were gathered for that. And what was the other one? Yeah, supplies were coming from Canada through the Nazi blockades to Liverpool and from there to the rest of the country. So you can see why they were going for this. By the end of World War II, they worked out that Liverpool had the second most amount of bombs dropped on it in the entire country. Now I hasten to add, ladies and gentlemen, that's different from second most damaged, just in case anyone here is from Coventry. So the reason is, although more bombs were dropped on Liverpool than Coventry, we actually got quite lucky because a third of the bombs dropped over this city didn't go off. Well, either that's luck, ladies and gentlemen, or we had the half-assed Friday night look after going over Liverpool, folks. And generally they did catch some of them dropping off bombs early so they could go home back at home, which is fair enough. This is the Baltic Triangle now, ladies and gentlemen. This is our equivalent of places like Shoreditch or Camden Town, where the hipsters hang around. This is the centre of it, folks, the Baltic Triangle, filled with bars, food stalls, music venues, vintage clothes shops. You may have seen the sign for the Peaky Blinders theme bar there as well. Again, although Peaky Blinders is set in Birmingham, most of it's filmed here. So there you go. So if anyone was interested in jumping off of this area, ladies and gentlemen, our bus stop is coming up now, just in front of the Jurgen Mule. So does anyone want to jump off in front of her Jurgen?
Yeah.
Anyone for this stopping?
Skateboard.
But there's Jurgen Klopp there. First Liverpool manager to win the Premier League trophy. Took us 30 years to win that, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm 31. Yes, I was blamed for it. Never mind. There's the Paul Curtis wings there as well. What you break as a singer, went on to have a very successful singing career, of course. I'm of the age I remember her more from her TV work, Blind Date and all that sort of stuff. Sadly, Silla passed in 2015. A year later, though, they put a statue of her up on Matthew Street, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lovely statue of her in the 60s, and she's still just as good at holding coats as she always was. If you look over the walls and that, it's a Lime Street, if you want, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
See the train tracks from there. And we are now coming up towards stop number 5, ladies and gentlemen. So we're about halfway through the route now. This is for the Britannia Adelphi Hotel, which is still probably the most famous hotel in Liverpool, although it has seen better days. It's this building here to your left. Might tell you about that when we get around the corner. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you're under the age of 16, I want you to stay at your shoes and put your fingers in your ears, okay? Everyone over 16, we are looking at this statue directly ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see him? If you can't see him here, we'll turn to the left of the lights and then you'll see the rest of him. Right, so you can see him there, yeah. He's perched on top of the old Lewis's department store. David Lewis's rather than John Lewis, of course. That closed back in 2005. The statue's official name is Liverpool Resurgence. We call him Dickie Lewis. Because it's short for Richard, nothing else. No one was jumping off from the Adelphi where they guys. Now when we went past, did you notice what Dickie was standing on, or were you a bit distracted? Yeah. Well, he's standing on about halfway up a ship's prow, and that represents Liverpool's nautical histories and traditions. The thing is, when Dickie Lewis was originally erected back in 1954, that's a filthy nine you got there, ladies, but there we go. When he was unveiled, Dickie was standing right at the very front of that ship's prow. However, every time it started raining, all of that water would go right down Dickie's dangle, and he was standing over the main entrance of the department store. A lot of folks got absolutely drenched, looked up to see where he was coming from, and well, I mean, you wouldn't be happy with it, would you, ladies and gentlemen? So, yeah, complaints were made, and they decided to push Dickie back for being too forward.
What the hell?
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the Battle of Dickie Lewis. At the top of the hill, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be passing through the University of Liverpool's central campus. We've got 3 major universities in the city: John Moores, the University of, and finally Hope University. And between them, there are approximately 60,000 students in this city. Population of Liverpool, 500,000, by the way.
Yeah.
We're also going to see our first cathedral of the day, folks, the Metropolitan Cathedral of Christ the King. There it is there, the central funnel with the spokes on the crown of thorns. But it's not what we planned to build originally, ladies and gentlemen. Originally, we were going to build the Lichfield design. It's the largest Catholic cathedral in the world. They started building that, ladies and gentlemen, in the 30s. See these lower structures with the pyramids? These are the crypts and the catacombs. And there's such a big gap between the pyramids and the actual cathedral because that was supposed to be more cathedrals. They said when they complete the Lichfield design, it's going to be bigger than the Vatican. It's tempting fate saying stuff like that, isn't it? Fate was tempted, ladies and gentlemen. In 1939, the Second World War started. Workers are forced to down tools on the cathedral, go off to fight the Nazis. By the end of World War II, the Catholic Church did not have the money to complete the Lichfield designs. So the cathedral you see today, yeah, that's a plan B, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see that when we get around the corner again in a moment, anyway.
That's interesting.
If you want an impression of how big the Lichfield Cathedral was supposed to be, the Catholic Cathedral, look to your left here. This is the Victoria building. See the clock tower? That tower would have fit in the doorway of the original cathedral's design. It's going to be big. Sadly not today. This is still used by the University of Liverpool today, by the way, the Victoria building. There's also a cafe and an art gallery at the bottom, and a false teeth museum. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a false teeth museum. I hate to disappoint you, it's currently closed for refurbishment. I know you're gutted, aren't you, ladies and gentlemen? But on the other hand, you do get to skip the gift shop, which is genuinely harrowing, so it's probably for the best. Right, would anyone like to jump off and stop number 6 for the Catholic Cathedral, ladies and gentlemen? Anyone number 6 for the Catholic? Now, it looks like we're all Protestant up here, right?
That's the only reason to go in there is just to see the interior.
There are just about 2 seats up here, Wayne, but they are separate. Okay, mate. So, let's have a look at the Catholic Cathedral they did build, ladies and gentlemen, over here to your right-hand side. I'm sure you'll agree, this is a rather unusually designed building for a Catholic cathedral. That's because it was designed by a Presbyterian. And incidentally, the Anglican was designed by a Catholic. I told you, we do it backwards here for a laugh. Yeah, but because this is a Presbyterian Catholic cathedral, the altar is in the very centre of the building, and it serves as a focal point. The structure is shaped round. This is what gives it its unique, round, circus big top tension. The whole circus tent look, folks, combined with the influx of Irish Catholic immigration to the city in the generations, gives the cathedral its most famous nickname, Paddy's Wigwam. Paddy's Wigwam. It's also known as the Mersey Funnel, and my personal favourite, the Pope's launching pad. Just gives it that Thunderbirds kind of feeling to it, really. Now that central funnel I mentioned before, that's all stained glass windows, ladies and gentlemen. Never looks too impressive from outside. Inside though, it can be gorgeous when the sun's out. And that's why those 4 bells are on the outside of the cathedral. If they were in the cathedral, as is typical, the vibrations would shatter everything. That's the Catholic, the Anglican cathedral's coming up ahead. In between them, ladies and gentlemen, is our personal place of worship, the Philharmonic pub. You guys off the pub? That's the spirit. There you go. So again, if you jump back on in an hour, mine's a Guinness, alright? It's worth a go, isn't it? Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the pub.
No, I stayed here. I'm just saying, want to get on or keep on the tour and then stay on and get.
Yeah. So,